Here we go, guys. This is me riding the eighth. Sorry, not Aether. It is the Aerox 155 from Yamaha. This is a pretty beat up scooter I had taken from a rental, and it had done around 36,000 kilometers on the Odo. And this is what I have to say. So let's consider this as a review of a motor scooter kind of a thing, which this is, and also a review of how a 36,000 kilometers thoroughly abused and rough used and misused a Yamaha Aerox was, when I rode it. So let's begin with the fact that I am a regular Aether 450 Apex rider. That is the bike I own. And for this, just for the sake of curiosity, I just always wanted to ride this Yamaha Aerox, and then took it on a rental, and then this is what I have to say about it. Like I already discussed, it was pretty beat up. So 36,000 or 36, yeah, 36,000 kilometers on the Odo. What had happened is the seat had polished itself with so many butts sitting on it, and then whenever I sat on it, I would immediately slide down like a slide. Okay, and the kind of slide it was, we've been used to as kids in theme parks and playgrounds. So that's how I used to slide down to the front, and that's a very irritating thing and not good for your posture. First thing, and second thing is what I found is the sitting posture here, although upright, the footwell is almost as good as a bike, or even worse than that, if I may put it across that way, because there are specific footwells, one on the left, one on the right, because there's a stem in the middle, and then it's limited. The space is limited. You can hardly maybe put your feet ahead 5 centimeters and behind. That's it. And if you want to bring it back further, you're gonna slip. The feet is going to slip. Both the feet can slip off. So you have to place it right at that particular place, and that is a total deal breaker for me, especially because I'll tell you what, when your foot is forward set, let's say like in a cruiser, or for example this particular scooter, okay, and when there's a pothole up ahead, you are a sitting duck. Okay, God help your spinal cord. That is what it is. So it's a total deal breaker, but thankfully I got to ride it, so I just wanted to say a few things on that. So this is what it is. So having spoken about the ergonomics, let's go into the suspension. Like seen on various other videos and reviews, yes, it's extremely stiff. Even if you go on a small feather, or if you go on a leaf, you can feel it. That's how bad it is, and that tires you out. God damn it! The shortest distance that you cover, it takes a Herculean task to withstand that kind of an abuse from coming from the road to yourself. And roads in our city is non-existent. Come on, who are we fooling? Okay, who are we kidding for? I mean, yeah, it is what it is. So many undulations, so many potholes, so many rough surfaces. It's just not, this bike is just not meant for it. Okay. Okay, so that's the suspension part. Front and back both were awful. And then you could also call it that 36,000 kilometers by default. I think the suspension should last more than that. So no, I don't think it was rotten or something. Any which ways, we'll move on to the other sections. First of all, the display was a bit tacky as far as I'm concerned, because they had the display up front. First of all, the light went off when I was riding midway. It never came on. The backlight, that is. Very difficult to read it even in daytime. You can just it's a negative display, so it's difficult to make out what the reading is. On top of it, there is a RPM rev counter. Okay, no, not one, two, on both the sides. I don't know why. So it gives you a false impression of the fact that you have two engines running, and both of them seem to be in sync. And then that's what I get to understand from it. If you're giving us, if you're giving me two RPM meters, one on each side, one on the left and one on the right, what should I think of? And also the way it is put across is like, we don't know if it is 2000 rpm, or is it less than that or more than that, because there's a sudden upsurge. There's a curve at 2000 rpm, and it goes up till 9, or I think 9000 or something like that. Okay, so it's a tacky design. I don't know, it's an awful design, like looks like a made in China thing. I didn't expect this from Yamaha. These things actually bring me a doubt on whether the other legit products like the R15 and XSR 155 and so on were also seriously engineered. When you look at something as foolish as this, especially the display on it. Okay. Yeah, so let's keep that aside. A lot of plastic cladding here and there, and the more number of cladding you see, more number of fasteners and locking mechanisms and joints, and the more they prone to failure. That's what it was. So there was a little bit of rattling noise from here and there, but especially the footboard on the right hand side, the covering, the plastic cladding had come off, so I had to keep on kicking it back in place. So not great. Okay, not a good sign. So this is about the build quality and what I felt about the instrument cluster, and then the footwell and the ergonomics in riding, etc. Now let's talk about the engine. So this one had a very specific problem. As soon as I opened the throttle completely to overtake or maybe accelerate, after a few seconds, maybe 3 or 4 seconds, it will cut off power immediately. Total power loss. It was like as good as the machine shutting off. But fortunately, no, the engine was still running. Only thing is, I was supposed to close the throttle and then open the throttle for it to regain the power. Um, regain the power as usual. And again, if I open the throttle too much, it will still cut off. So it was putting me in a kind of a limp mode. It was putting me in a let's say a partial limp mode, or a momentary limp mode for some reason. Maybe because the oil light was flashing, and I guess the rental agency would not have bothered cleaning or changing the oil on time. That's one thing. And maybe it was a way to I don't know, maybe avoid the engine from getting overheated or something. But that was a dangerous behavior, and that was discovered by me. And one should be very careful when doing such things. It is a complex engine, no doubt. They're liquid cooled with the variable valve actuation and so on. So the more complicated an engine, more points of failure, such as this that I experienced, is what I feel, as far as my experience with machines is concerned. It's a very simple analysis that I can put across when I kind of experience these kind of things on a machine. Okay. So having said that, the next part is, for some reason, I found the brakes to be extremely hard to operate. I really needed to work my forearms and my grip strength to brake, and and also to accelerate. The accelerator, yeah, I know it's. It's also a review of how this machine ages. The accelerator was very hard to twist. I was, expecting a smooth one, single finger, two finger open and close kind of a free play. But then, unfortunately, no, there was nothing on this. It's very hard to twist the throttle open. So all of these things, they add up to the fatigue of riding a machine. Okay, so you open the throttle, which is pretty hard. The throttle is hard, then you brake, Okay, using both the levers, front and back, and then you are being pounded by the bad roads because the suspension wants to transmit everything that it finds on the road. It gives you 100% feedback of the road surface. All these things happen, and then you begin feeling tired and start focusing on that, and it is a vicious circle. Eventually, you will have to stop because it gets too overwhelming for you mentally and also physically. So, this is what I found with this machine. To add to it, anytime I was stopping in a traffic signal, okay, or whenever there was a jam or something, what I noticed is that it's a quite a vibey machine in the sense, the stroke is felt when it's idling. Maybe because the rubber bushings of the machine, the engine would have hardened up, thereby transmitting all the vibrations to the person sitting the rider, or maybe it is the innate nature of the machine. So I don't know. Or however, when I was doing speeds above 50, 60, it evened out. But then there was a different kind of a vibration coming in now. So it was some sort of a regular bearing based, frequency vibration that I could feel, because of course, I could hardly do speeds more than 70, 80, as far as I could feel. And I think it was a very worn out engine, okay, and it would just transmit all those vibrations. What do you call them? I think harmonic vibrations, kind of a thing. So it was never smooth. So, having said all these things about my riding experience of this ICE engine, that is internal combustion engine, as you call it, of supposedly sophisticated Yamaha engine machine, I feel this is when you begin to appreciate what you ride. Like I said, I have a Aether Apex 450, and going by the words of Kunal. I think Kunal is the founder of Cred right now. So he had this concept about Delta 4 products. So I feel I am right now at that juncture where I have discovered a Delta 4 product that is basically electric mobility, EVs, and Aether being my scooter. The kind of smoothness I get get out of it, and the kind of pickup and the kind of smoothness. Once again, reiterating the fact that it's smooth at all speeds. Idling, there's nil, nothing, and then at high speed, there's also still nothing, except for the whining noise from the belt. That's the way the Aether is designed. So it's very difficult for a EV guy who's gotten used to an EV to go back to an ICE. This is what I'm saying in short. Okay. And it was okay. I just wanted to experience what it is like. So that was done. And on top of it, yes, it does have a pretty good, decent storage space in the below the seat. This bike, this Aerox, that is. But then, when you're used to a flat, board scooter, this just doesn't make sense, man. Okay, and if there are any engineers looking at it, okay, maybe Honda or Yamaha or Suzuki or whoever it is, look, you call this a motor scooter, you should give the rider an option to um, rest his foot on a foot peg also. Okay, and that should be at least below the hip, if not rear set. And that is what helps in the end to use that as a leverage to stand up whenever there's a rough patch, or even just like what you do on a bike. Okay, so if it's a motor scooter, please pay attention to that and provide that as an option, or if not an accessory, if that's possible, for these scooters. Otherwise, it just, for me, as far as my use case is concerned, this is of no use, this scooter. But nevertheless, maybe if they do a lot of modifications, a lot of aftermarket market, what do you say, parts available for upgrade and and whatnot, for tuning and whatnot. So yeah, seems like a good hobby for those who are interested. So, but that's about it. These are my comments on this Aerox 155 riding experience. It's not for me. Maybe it's for you or whoever is listening to it, or it might be for others. Okay. All right then. And yeah, of course. Last but not the least, I did find that apart from all the hard controls and vibrations and whatnot, even the turning was a bit tough. I think the weight is totally, I think, more uh, inclined towards the front, and that makes the handlebar a bit tight to turn around left and right. So that is another added effort one has to put in when trying to maneuver this machine, especially in the traffic jams. But when you are in the highway and riding, it's nothing great. It's the same. I feel, yeah, that's what I feel. So let me conclude this, and thank you for watching this. And do like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, ciao.